let's talk to legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Mr. Max Oga, joining us from Abuja City. Mr. Max, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thanks for having me here this evening.
All right, let's go to this back and forth between the DSS that has started. First, I understand the case, there's no date yet, but of course, they filed the case at the court in Abuja. Why did the DSS decide to get involved, in your view as a lawyer? And was it necessary for the DSS to get involved in what Professor Utomi calls a shadow government, to look at government critically, go head-to-head against them in terms of policy for policy, with options available to check the performance of government in that sense?
Well, I will take the second leg of your twin question, whether it is necessary for the DSS to take the action it has taken. And I will answer in the affirmative that it is yes. It is necessary, it is right that the DSS is doing what or took the step it did take, you know, to seek clarification on whether there can be a shadow cabinet, right, under a presidential system of government. That's all they are asking for. Now, I picked something from what your last guest said, Mr. Tony Cole. Oh, he was talking of charge, prosecution, and all of that. And that's where a lot of the misconception is coming from. People are worked up because perhaps a lot of people are thinking that there's a criminal complaint against Professor Utomi. No. The DSS merely filed a civil action, which I believe will be an originating summons, seeking an interpretation of whether there can be a shadow cabinet under a presidential system of government. What I know, and what is common knowledge, is that you have shadow cabinets under parliamentary systems. We don't, at the moment, practice a parliamentary system of government. We did that under our 1963 Constitution. What we practice at the moment is a presidential system patterned after the American system, which has no provision for a shadow, cabinet. So nobody is disturbing Professor Utomi. I'm happy that we're not talking of anybody invading his residence or office looking for him. We're not talking of anybody declaring him wanted. The DSS merely went to court because they don't want to make a mistake. The court, guide us. Is this permitted? Is this permissible under a current system of government, which is presidential? So if you ask me, sir, again and again, I will say again and again in response that it is necessary that this step is taken. We should commend what the DSS has done. This is a public interest litigation case, which will help us. It will develop and enhance our jurisprudence in that area, so that moving forward, we won't need to make mistakes. It is along the same lines that Mr. Festus Keyamo had approached the court in the time past, saying, hey, you need the approval of the Senate towards the appointment of service chiefs. It is still along these lines that people went to court. I think Judge Okutepa was one of them. I don't know if the court has said. I don't know if any court has given a decision on that, to say you need approval to appoint, Senate approval to appoint a chairman for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Okay, Mr. Oga. Okay, Mr. Oga, my apologies. But so let me explain to you. I've had opportunity to interview Professor Pat, and I clearly listened attentively to him and his submission. The next day or 2 days after, I had the opportunity to discuss with Felix Moka, who is the spokesperson of the APC, who did a 3-pager and called him intellectual drag, I don't know why I keep forgetting that part. When I remember, I'll let you know. Anyway, he did a 3-pager in response to what Professor Pat said. And I asked him, you listened to Professor Pat. Do you now understand what he's saying? He said, yes, he does understand. In fact, I even challenged him to say, would you apologize? And I said, no, because he set up, he named people and all of that. What is the difference between what Professor Pat is doing and just what the opposition is supposed to do? Because in his view, from what I see, is that all of the opposition that are supposed to hold government their account, they are busy fighting internal battle, and government is dishing out policy every other day. Somebody has to be there with his team to say, oh, government, you're right or wrong, or this is a better way to do it. How is that a threat in any shape or form to national security? Is it because it's called government, or there are people named in different expertise to check policy direction?
Now, Jeffrey, I agree with Professor Utomi 100% that because the opposition political parties have shirked in their responsibility of putting our government or governments in check, and because nature abhors vacuum, what Professor Utomi is proposing to do has to be done. But what people have a problem with is saying we are setting up a shadow cabinet. If he runs a system where he calls people to analyze, to appraise what government is doing, for instance, if you take the students' loan issue, and Professor Utomi throws up someone, as he has always done. I mean, I've followed him for very long, for long, right from his Patitos gang days. You know, so if he throws up someone who says, oh, this is how the students' loan issue should be handled, right? Since the political parties have failed, nobody will have a problem with that. If he says, oh, this is how to build political parties, right? This is how to handle the issue of defection, and all of that. Getting alternative views. All Prof is saying is, look, let's have alternative views that will help government. You know, but where people have an issue, including the DSS, which has gone to court, is for saying we will constitute a shadow cabinet. That's why they're having issues. You know, so I cannot be here to speak for
so why
Mr.
is
Moka.
Just a minute.
I cannot justify what Mr. Moka said.
Sorry,
yes,
sorry, Mr. Oga. So why is the DSS erred to decide? The Constitution is very clear on how Nigeria has to be run. Section 1, subsection 1, 2, there are several other sections as to how a president is elected and all that. You have, by your own submission, you were even very clear on what this is intended to be. He is one head. He has decided to put a couple of heads who have different expertise and say, rather than just Utomi talking, let's come together. You are a lawyer, you are a banker, you are this person. This government is moving on without the necessary checks they should be checked on. Okay, let's do something and check them time and again and put out alternative. So I'm still trying to process why it is a problem, because I'm looking at, they complain about the tendency to destabilize the government, incite political unrest, undermine national security. These are very heavy suspicion, if you ask me.
That's why the case is in court, so the judiciary can
I don't want to talk about that.
So
I don't want to talk about the case in court. I just want to look at it. I can't prejudice you understand? Let's avoid the case in court.
But I had said to you that I agree with the Prof 100%. I agree with you. We must have alternative views on all issues, on all policies that government pursues or government is pursuing. Do you understand? I have no problems with Professor Utomi running his big tent. I don't have a problem with that. Where he'll bring in eggheads, intellectuals who will weigh in on different issues, and perhaps government will pick from some of these things and learn. And I said to you, I said, where some people are having problems is the use of constituting, or rather the intention to constitute a shadow cabinet. That's what some people are having. Are having issues.
Is it semantics that's the problem?
I am not in disagreement with Professor Utomi. I agree with him. Right? I agree with him that we must set agenda for the government. That's exactly what the Big Tent intends to achieve, setting an agenda for the government in different areas. I don't have a problem with that. The DSS did not go after him. The DSS went to court to say, guide us. And like I said,
sorry, Mr. Oga, my apologies. Shouldn't the DSS have first invited Professor Pat to say, just like I saw him post, and I said, Prof, let's have a conversation. I brought him on TV. I said, Prof, maybe you have to explain this thing because it's causing back and forth between you and the APC. Yeah. Shouldn't the DSS have invited him first of all before? Did they invite him? Let's not be ahead of ourselves. Did they invite him and he didn't come? That's why they had to go to court?
Like I want to describe you, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, that question gives an impression as if I'm the spokesperson of the DSS.
No, I'm talking to you as a lawyer. I'm talking to you as a lawyer. As a lawyer.
And I'm not. Yes, I'm not a lawyer for the DSS. So when you ask whether the DSS invited or shouldn't they have invited him, that means you're putting me in a position to speak for the DSS. I do not have the capacity.
No, I'm not putting you in. No, Mr. Oga, I'm not putting you in a position to prove. So you are familiar with the law than I am. I'm just saying, if there's such a thing that is creating this furore that the state institution of state, like a DSS, for instance, anybody who has a DSS, anything, you have to put yourself in proper order so that you know what you're up against. I'm just saying, as a lawyer, don't you think it would have been fairer to say, Mr. Utomi, Professor Utomi, please come and explain yourself first and foremost. What do you mean? It's just a common question I'm asking, nothing to defend anybody here.
Now, sir, with what is going on now, if the DSS had said, oh, look, we are inviting you to come to our office on Monday, the 19th of May at 10 a.m. to give an insight into what you intend to do, the social media will be on fire that, oh, the DSS has invited Professor Utomi and he will be arrested and detained and all of that. So they avoided all of that. So sincerely speaking, I still do not see where we have a problem with this. You know, I mean, it's a civil suit they filed against. It does not even need to engage a lawyer to be in court. On their own affidavit evidence alone, the court can determine the matter whether they are right or wrong. If he elects to engage a lawyer, his lawyer or lawyers can be in court without him being there. This issue will still be sorted out. So we don't need to lose sleep over this issue, my dear brother.
The reason why it's concerning, I'll tell you why the reason is concerning. There's a perception, right or wrong, that the government is not too comfortable with dissenting voices. I'm sure you've heard that over and over again. And now when an institution of state is involved in things like this, it looks like it's even aggravating the situation of that, because everything is about perception. Perception is people's reality, whether it's right or wrong, or correct or wrong. So that is why it's an important conversation. Don't you think that in going forward, we have to be careful how we manage things like this, so that because there's already the touting of, oh, one-party state, which is why Professor Pat is doing what he's doing. And if this continues in this trajectory, don't you think we're going to be having a perception that the APC-led government is hostile to dissenting voice?
I think I should be weighing in on giving my background on what the law expects in a situation like this. Right? But the way you have put your question, you want me to express my personal opinion.
No, you can go with the law. You can go with the law. I just asked a question. You can choose the part of the law. My job is to ask questions. That's what I'm paid to do.
Yes. Now, nobody has said to PU or PPU, Professor Pat Utomi, that don't set up the big tent, don't do anything in that direction. No, nobody has said so. Nobody has said, hey, if you associate with the big tent, we'll get you arrested. Nobody has said so. So I don't know where the issue of suppressing, public opinion or free speech, comes into this whole mix. I'm yet to get that.
Okay, I must thank you so much. I'm just telling you, we manage communication. We are communications people, so we are the ones that speak to both the government, the opposition, and everybody on the street. So we have a fair panoramic view of how perception is filtered through. And it's to allow everybody to have their say and allow the audience to make a decision. But thank you for even coming to speak on this issue, Mr. Max Oga, a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey.